Of guests today at Delta Park. A very good morning to you once again, Griselda. Who do you have?
Well, a very good morning to you, Blaine, as we really look forward to what would have been Madiba's 100th birthday tomorrow. But so many of these celebrations are in full swing. Of course, we've been crossing live from Delta Park here in Johannesburg, where these 100 trees have been planted in honor of this legacy of Madiba. Of course, everybody looking forward to that lecture, which will be delivered by the former US President Barack Obama. But amongst the distinguished guests here with me today is Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who joins me now this morning. Tata, thank you very much for your time. Always a great pleasure speaking to you. Very significant day here today, as tomorrow we would have celebrated 100 years of Madiba.
Absolutely.
You have such a rich legacy.
Let me tell you a joke
Yes.
about that. Yeah. He would always say, when we were chatting, you're far younger than me. And I would say, wait a minute. President, we're the same age minus 10.
But you share this massive history, fantastic history with the Tata Madiba, even once being made acting president by him.
More than once.
Yes, more than once.
Yes.
I remember, was it 1997, that one specifically?
Correct, yes.
Yes,
First time.
I'm not sure how old I was then, but...
Yes. But you must have been a very intelligent youngster, because it was long ago. You must have been very young when there was problems in Lesotho. There was that coincidence where the ructions in Lesotho, and we were in Mauritius. I was his Minister of Home Affairs, and I was in his hotel for quite a long time, because he was talking to other SADC heads of state about the situation in Lesotho, because SADC had actually decided that they would never allow any person to actually seize power and become head of a junta government, or military junta. So he was speaking to this and that, and I remember a joke. He looked at his watch. It was just 12 o'clock. He said, "Look, it's now 12 o'clock. We are now the president. Speak to Mugabe," because he didn't want to talk to him himself. So I spoke to him.
Yes, Prince Buthelezi, it's such a rich legacy. What do you remember most, and what do you think, within this celebration, as we look at Mandela 100, what do you think that South Africans, and I guess the rest of the world, should today be looking at in terms of the ideals that this great man stood for?
Well, in the first place, I mean, just the 27 years that he sacrificed for our country is something we can never forget. And all the other efforts which he made, which you know about, are something that we as South Africans cannot forget at this point. And I'm excited that we're celebrating him, because I think that his legacy is not only a legacy of our country, but it's an international legacy. And I think, therefore, I'm rather jealous myself that if we as South Africans cannot, actually uphold his legacy, and that other people in other countries do so more than ourselves, it shouldn't be the case. Because he was our icon. We own him, you see. But of course the world owns him, but we, first and foremost, he did so much, sacrificed so much, did so much, even when the short time, if you remember, he was president for 5 years only. But our country, at that time was top of the world because of him, and because of some of his moral, what we call, authority, and because of his his values, the values that he upheld, which have deteriorated so in the last 10 years. But all of those things, I think that when our country seems to be down there economically and otherwise, it's a very good thing that we as South Africans are celebrating the Madiba centenary to inspire us to get out of the dark tunnel where the country's been placed in the last 10 years.
What can we do to preserve that legacy? I think it will have to go well beyond just speaking about it, Prince Buthelezi, in that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to try and ensure that all the gains that have been made are not eroded. You speak about many, including the elders, speak about what's happening in the world in terms of leadership. How do we as Africans ensure that the ideals that Madiba stood for are not eroded just overnight?
I would say personally, even just the statements that have been made by President Ramaphosa are very encouraging, as statements of intent of the direction he wishes to take this country to. So I say that one should not really be blinded by what some people have called Ramaphoria. But nevertheless, I think I've known Mr. Ramaphosa for a long time, and personally, I trust him that he means that, what he's saying. But then I worry about the fact that still around him there are still people who are carrying excess baggage when it comes to corruptions and things like that. I just worry about that, and also about the fact that I always say, because I grew up in the ANC, the founder was my uncle, Dr. Sam. Truly was my mentor. I always regret the fact that there are these cleavages now in the ANC, because I don't think that one can gloat about them just because one is in the opposition, because I think that it's not good for us, for the ANC as a ruling party, to be split from top to bottom as is the case now. Because you remember that even the election itself in Nazareth showed that there was this split, because after all he only won. It was only one. The president was won only with less than 200 votes. So I just hope and pray, because of the commitment that Mr. Ramaphosa has expressed about unity of the party, that is his priority. Because in fact, without that, he won't do much. And also, of course, he must also look at the policies of the ANC itself, and also he has a big task also in cleaning up the mess of 10 years as well.
I think that will be a great, birthday present to Dr. Madiba, in the sense that if the current president of the ANC and of the country is able to unify the party that Dr. Madiba belonged to. But thank you very much for your time. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, also attending this tree planting ceremony here. Always great speaking to you. Thank you very much.
I always admire you too very much.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm truly humbled. Thank you very much. Of course, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was also in attendance here today. Of course, I think speaking about, the current politics within South Africa, of course, hoping that sharing sentiments, feeling quite inspired, by the ANC president and the president of the country, in speaking about the unification of the political party, the ANC, that Nelson Mandela had belonged to. Well, that's all we'll have from here at Delta Park in Johannesburg, where I'm sure many people will come over the next couple of years to come and watch these 100 trees that have been planted grow and blossom. Of course, all planted together, something that Nelson Mandela always championed in terms of people working together. For myself, Griselda Lewis, and the team here at Delta Park, thank you very much for joining us.
And I'm sure Prince Buthelezi's last sentiment is shared countrywide. Griselda Lewis live for us in Delta Park. Thank you very much indeed.